How to choose colors off of such small samples. So I've got some tips for you. I'm excited for you to be here in Kitchen Design. I'm Shad. I have helped clients choose colors for thousands of projects over the last over 30 years. And so I'm going to give you four identifying items or characteristics or things you should consider when it comes to choosing your final color off of such a small sample. And by the way, this isn't just for cabinets, for flooring and for paint and for, I wouldn't say handles because oftentimes you're seeing the handles, but countertops, the list goes on, okay? But the principle applies pretty much the same with what I'm going to share with you. So let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about age. Now, age of the sample does matter. So oftentimes on the back of a sample, it will have a date on when the sample was produced. If it doesn't, it should, or you should maybe ask the company that you're working with, how old is the sample, okay? Now, there's good and bad to a fresh sample and an aged sample. It depends on the material. But a fresh sample is going to look like your fresh product when it arrives. But understand that every material changes just a little bit with time. I know that we have UV cured and anti-aging. Kind of sounds funny to say that in products versus humans, but there are things that prevent major or significant coloration changes like we've seen in the past. Let's say, for instance, with cabinetry, with the finishes or the lacquers or any types of top coats that have been put on top of wood. But it's not just the stain or the superficial color, it's also the material itself, okay? So all those things are subject to some slight change, okay? Even, you see with our cars, they fade in the sun with time. So be aware of the age. I wouldn't necessarily tell you one way or the other. I would suggest, this may go contrary to what most manufacturers want me to say, but I would suggest that if it's a slightly older sample, meaning 1 to 2 years, it's gone through the cycle of seasons, temperature, humidity, and light. Even though it's indoors, there is some of that transfers inside. So that sample is, in my opinion, a little bit more reliable for what your kitchen will look like in the long run, or your project, than if you're just choosing just a fresh sample. Because what happens with a fresh sample, your kitchen looks that way when you first get it, looks all fresh, nice, neat, and clean. And then within 6 months to a year, 2 years, with a little bit of exposure to light and all those other things I mentioned, then it starts to age just a little bit and change just a hair. So again, I know that many of you will disagree with me, and that's okay. I want you to share in the comments if you disagree. All right, so before I jump into this, I want to just mention here, this sample here, okay, these are relatively new. This is the same color, okay? This stain, okay, this is a stain on hickory, okay, and this stain on this door are the exact same stain, okay? This stain is actually a year newer than this stain. Now, I don't know that there's much here variation. The trouble with hickory is, so that's my next point, is the base material. So number two, your base material. So wood is especially susceptible to variation, okay? So with cabinetry, especially wood flooring, things like that, you're going to get and should get significant variation. You see in the hickory here that this color here is different than where it looks here versus here, right? Because hickory has so much variation in it, and that's part of the beauty of the product. Kind of like natural stone, natural materials, right? That's what you expect and should expect to get when you're working with them. Okay, so that's your base material. The next suggestion I give to you in selecting samples, if you can't get a bigger piece than this, then at least combine this with your other samples. Okay, let's say your paint, your countertops, your flooring, your hardware color, your countertop. I already said your countertops. Any other materials. Maybe if you have carpet that's close to or touching close to where the cabinets are going. Anything that's going to be adjacent to in the same space or really close to the materials. It'd be good to have the samples. Put them all together in a color palette. Take that color palette, put it in a place where you can view it. So not only, number one is to look at that 6 feet away. Okay, from 6 feet, you're hardly ever looking at this like you might typically look at this, from your hand distance. So put it 6 feet from your view, about where I'm at from this phone right now, maybe a little bit closer. Anyway, put that with your other colors. See if the colors blend or feel good together. Okay. Always having an outside objective opinion, especially from a design expert, is always helpful. I'm really good at colors, so for me this is very, very easy. This came before I got trained. It was a natural thing before I became a certified kitchen designer. But number one, 6 feet away. Number two, put it with all the colors in your color palette. Take that palette, put it in a place that you can view it for a few days, maybe even a week, throughout the changes of the day and throughout the changes of your mood. So changes in lighting, nighttime, daytime, early morning, late night, and then also changes in mood. You want to experience how it feels together. If all of that still looks good together after that, a few days to a week, you're probably in pretty good shape to go forward, even if this color varies just a little bit, or this sample or the material, changes the way the color looks to you just a little bit, okay? Most likely, if you get a sample like this on natural wood, you're going to have some parts of that wood that are going to be that same color, right? This blends in certain spots of the cabinets, right? So your natural material is going to introduce or connect that color in multiple places throughout the space that you've got the material in, as long as that stain is the same color, right? Okay. Finally, lighting. Now, lighting changes colors a lot. Now, I'm in a room here with, I would say it's pretty cool lighting. Very, very important, by the way, when this comes to selecting your samples right in the first place. But I'm going to give you some warnings. And there's a reason why I'm not going to show you this example, because I want you to experience it instead of just watching it, okay? You might be tempted to take your samples out into the sunlight and see them in natural light. That's nice to get a feel for what you're looking at. Be careful making your decision off that, because hardly ever do you have natural light as your primary or your ambient light source in your space. Every once in a while that might be the case. Maybe you have skylights. But remember, at nighttime, you're going to be using superficial lighting, okay? So just some important factors in considering what you're choosing your samples. Guys, if you like what I'm sharing, will you please subscribe and comment? Help keep this going. I'm going to 100 videos. If I get enough activity from you, the viewers, I will keep going. I love doing this. If it's not valuable, that's fine. I can work on plenty of other projects, but I would sure love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.